I think we got everything else pretty good. This is our last demo.
This is our last
for the
demo
season.
for the season. We'll start again in September, and we'll have a mix of in-person and online. Back to Mayo, though, I believe it's a limited number of paintings.
There's always a limited number. It's listed in the
Right.
prospectus. I think it's 35 where
Which
we put the cap.
means don't wait on this one.
Yeah,
If
it's
you
first
wanna
come,
be
first
in
serve.
it, Get your stuff in.
And like I said, it's a great venue.
It is
very
a
good.
great venue. It is a great venue.
And then be aware, you'll get this stuff come the summertime for like your new memberships and stuff like that. All right? Yeah, as soon as for renewal, if you could renew as quickly as possible, because we do have bills. All our dues go back to supporting the club. So if you can come in and pay your dues as quickly as possible, because we have to pay our insurance, we have to pay for the space here and stuff like that. All right, so if you can get it in, because we're gonna have some bills coming in we have to pay. All right. And anyone who donated, thank you very much for the donations. It helps also support having great artists like Gary to come in and give us demos. Thank you very much, and I think I got everything for now.
I think you
All right,
I
I'll
think
turn it
you
over
did.
to you, Margie.
All right. So this is my very, very great pleasure to introduce Gary Graham. He is a Rhode Island artist. I've known Gary a long time.
Susie and Carol.
Yeah. Gary's wife Susie is here, and Gary's sister-in-law Carol is here. And I've known them for years, since my childhood. And so this was just a lovely, happy coincidence that it happened. And Gary is a beautiful, beautiful painter. But he's also a wonderful teacher. He has an excellent way of looking at things and explaining things in a very informal way of describing it. I guess that's about it. Gary does have some things for sale. They're beautiful, and if you would like to purchase any of them, prices on the back. Susie is the shopkeeper, so you can see her. I know they take Venmo. All right, and I think I'm going to just turn it over to you. Okay.
Good afternoon. It's really, really neat to be here, and it's great to be here to celebrate Margie's birthday today. So I'm not sure I was supposed to say that or not. And no, so we are personal friends, and as well as a professional relationship. And Margie was one of my first teachers, and I just because basically Susie and I went up to Landgrove about 10 years ago. We can't think it's 10 or 11. To basically take one of Margie's classes, and it was my first kind of real exposure to kind of a real workshop in watercolor. And I think we went back the next year.
I think you did. I think you went a couple of years.
Yeah, and I think we've been up there 3 times with Margie, and it's really and we decided that this is a really great way to have a vacation and learn things. So since then we've been. Susie and I have been, and Susie paints as well. What you do? Okay, well, fine. But we can do something together that we enjoy, and it's just to me it's a perfect vacation. You get the social aspect of 14, 15 other painters that you're all learning together. You get to go to a really neat places, and ostensibly you get to work on your skill set. So I mean you build your skills, and so we've been. Ireland, and England, and France, and many other places, and Portugal, and really have enjoyed this aspect of our life. And so, Margie did mention I'm an architect, and so and I still actually have a small practice up in Bristol, Rhode Island, and I don't know, it stays in existence in spite of me. And I've been doing the watercolor, so after that first workshop, I took a whole year went by and didn't do a thing, and then I went to another workshop. And so finally, I think it was really COVID that kind of really got me kind of painting in a pretty serious way. as serious as I can be. So I'm ambitious today. I don't know what I'm going to actually be able to accomplish. But I want to start with the idea of a sketch and talk about different methodologies, because I'm going to actually try and demonstrate two methodologies. One basically is basically watercolor painting. The other is what I guess you call ink and wash, or ink and watercolor. That when you get to your hot pressed paper by mistake and you don't know what to do with it, you actually have an opportunity to utilize your pen because it takes a pen so nicely, and maybe not the watercolor. I mean, it's hard to get a really good graduated wash, and so I'm going to try and show both of those things. The main topic on watercolor is going to be this. I don't know if you can see. This is a place in Landgrove, Vermont. That actually Susie took a workshop with a guy named Colin Wisson last year. And it was winter, or March, I think it was. And I'm going to see if we can make that into more of a spring or summer scene. So we're going to, today, let's move spring along a little bit. And so I'll work on that a little bit. And then if I get this in between times, because the time for drying the watercolor wash, I'm going to look at this sort of simple little scene in Nancy, France, and see if I can. I've pre-drawn some of these, so otherwise we would be out of here by 4 o'clock, which I know we have to be. And so I'm going to use that as an example of the ink and wash. We'll see if that works. But so let's start. So I use a sketchbook. I've got 3 over there, and I've got another one. And usually I'll start with a sketch, and just depending on, I guess you can see better than this way. And typically just as the basis, as the beginning of a project. I like to start with a sketch. If you'll notice, so this one night, this was 2 weeks ago. Oh, I'm sorry, I'll do it here. 2 weeks ago, we were in a furniture store. So I'm with the Urban Sketching Rhode Island, and we get together every Saturday morning for 2 hours, and we sketch. And we go different places. In the winter, we'll go inside to this happens to be a furniture, really kind of a cool furniture store. And I set myself in a little corner and did this little sketch. I think you'll notice, and I think, you'll notice this was where we were last weekend, which was in a library in another little town. And I will typically work on a grid. I mean, as I think about that a lot, basically a 9 square or 9 rectangle grid. And I do that because, well, I mean, I'm an architect. I should be a good, drawer, but it's still to get, specific points, because typically any painting is relational, so you've got basically that column there, and you've got that column there, and you can establish that angle, and then we can talk about perspective. And I think that's what the Nancy, because I was going to talk about perspective. This clearly has a great deal of perspective. So establishing a couple of points is what typically is a good thing to do. And you've heard about the rule of thirds. I suspect everybody knows the rule of thirds. And so in these 4 quadrants basically of a painting, ostensibly that's where you might have your focal point or something that a point that you want to take advantage of to highlight something that's important. So I thought what I do, and the other thing I do, so here's our subject, and I thought I'd start with a quick little, I don't know if you've heard the term NOTAN, and I don't really think, a value study real quickly. Pick a color, and it could be a great, I was going to tell you what my stuff here. I have a palette. Basically, I use this little French, or it's called a watercolor plein air palette. They cost a fortune, and they take forever to get. I got this one a few years ago. This way, can you see?
Who makes that, Gary?
Huh?
Who makes it?
This one is made by the Little Brass Box Company. There's 3 or 4 people, they make them by hand, and this one, this is, you know, one that I happen to like. It's got pretty deep wells. I'm sorry, it's got relatively deep wells, and keep things kind of alive with a little spray. Hopefully we'll not have too many problems. Oops, now we're going to have interference. And real quickly, to just highlight my palette, since there are 16 colors, is that right? 15? 15 colors. I have a cool yellow Aurelian, a warm yellow cadmium, another yellow that kind of mixes nicely, which is quinacridine gold. I've got a pyrrole red. I've got I think this is alizarin crimson. Here's my secret sauce, which is quinacridine sienna, which I tend to use a lot. I've got the blues. I've got the cobalt, ultramarine. I had an extra little thing, so I put in quin magenta, which actually is sort of taking over for me for the alizarin crimson. It's I think a little livelier color. I've got a cobalt teal blue. Sometimes I have cerulean in that. I've gone off of cerulean, so I don't use it anymore. Phthalo blue, which I'm going to do my sky in today, which is going to surprise people. The Perillian green. I've got a lot of watercolor clothes don't have greens at all. It's hard. Greens are hard, and it's nice to have at least a backup, and that's a deep dark green. Burnt sienna, workhorse. Yellow ochre, also a workhorse, and then this one is whatever. It's a dark. Right now it's Van Dyke brown. It could be Payne's gray. I don't like neutral tint very much, but I mean, so that's my palette. Any questions?
Company?
Huh?
Brand?
Most of mine are Daniel Smith. I tend to do Daniel Smith. I have some Winsor and Newton, and I've got there might be 1 or 2 others, but yeah, I just tend to do Daniel Smith.
Gary, do you find it harder to mix with yellow ochre? Have you tried raw sienna, or you went from one to the other?
One of my friends that is a raw sienna guy. I think I don't find it the particularly different at this point. So I like that well enough. I've got a variety of brushes here that I use, and it's sort of I bought them at different times, and so I've got some rosemaries, I've got some black velvet sables, I've got some old things that you could only get from Russia a long, long time ago when I first took a Graham Booth workshop called Euro Art. I've got some things from Vlad Australia, if you've ever known Vlad, the wild, crazy Russian guy. And I'm going to actually start, well, when I get to the sky, I'm going to actually use my, I don't think it's a hawk air hake. I like this brush. I do have a mop, a squirrel mop that I've never kind of really connected well with my squirrel mop. I don't know. I do use it, but I may or may not use it. And I like the hake, hawk hake, which I don't know. I've heard it both ways. Any questions before I get going?
Paper?
Okay. Huh?
You said, what kind of paper?
Oh, paper. Good point. Well, of course, this is a sketch paper. This is actually a Stillman and Byrne book. Most of those are this guy, Michael Selyev, on Watercolor Online. I buy those books. I like the paper. Those are, well, he's just changed over to Bauhung. I'm going to be using Sanders Waterford.
Okay.
And you know that one. And I'm going to use, now, I was have a debate whether to wet the back or not. I think I won't today, but just in the interest of time, because of the drying time. I have pre-sketched this so that you're not going to see too much of my sketching, which I like to do, and I take pride in it, but it takes time, and so I'm not going to show that. And so that we've got Saunders Waterford. This is I'm not sure whose this is. It's a hot press, and this is going to. This is going to be if I can get do a little bit of ink and wash on that just to show you that process. The result of, by the way, as you can see from this one, the result of this, so usually I use a sketch for a little painting, and so over here, I don't know if you can see that from, you know, that's an example of an ink and wash that was kind of came directly out of this. And so I went home after the day at the furniture store and, you know, kind of put something together.
When you say ink, are you using permanent marker? Super
I
fine?
use a $2 pen called Pentel Finito. I love my Pentel Finitos. I'll show you how they work. But people use microns and other things. This happens to be the best, but don't tell anybody else about it. They're hard to get. Any other questions? Okay. So let's see if we can get something going here with my sketchbook. Okay, just to real quickly to, you know, so to look at, analyze this this scene, and we said, okay, let's just, I think it's important from a watercolor perspective to think about lights and darks, basically. I mean, think about your values, and I think a quick study here, and I'm going to take by the way, I have some Bauhung here too that I'm not going to use today, but it's another manufacturer of paper. But I'm going to take a fairly big brush. I happen to like these black velvet silvers, black velvet silvers, and we'll just we'll use this Van Dyke brown, just you know. Good ugly color. No, it isn't really. I mean, Margie does these wonderful, you know, coffee paintings that this looks exactly like one of those.
It does.
But we know basically we've got this dark background. So between this side of the building over here, and this isn't dark enough yet, but I'll make it darker, and the background behind there. And let's darken that up a little bit. Okay, so we'll just have, you know, that, and we've got the dark coming across there. This line here, I would say, is an important line because that really defines this, you know, kind of the break between the background trees and the green grass, which is really, this is white here, but obviously, you know, we're talking about green grass. The roof is pretty light, so I think I will leave that in the light zone, and we'll just now weaken this a little bit and just put in, because the sky, and I think we'll still keep a relatively, you know, kind of medium sky at this point, and maybe we'll do a graduated wash when we get working on that. And let's pick up again some of this this dark over here, because this line here to define that edge of that, you know, is going to be a fairly important point over there to make that kind of work out. You know, there's looks like a fairly dark shadow under there. These, you know, you get a couple of those window kinds of things. This chimney here, and then we're going to make this area here into a road. And I think that'll be kind of a medium kind of color over there. And the rocks, because in the summertime, I think we'll have. Whoops, one thing. But we'll have, you know, some of these rocks, and rocks will have a series of, you know, lights and darks, and that's, you know, probably. And oops. And maybe what we'll end up doing is I'm thinking about putting a, you know, perhaps a darker shadow from some trees over here. We might put some shadow on the roof, you know, over here like that, as if there was a, you know, the light's obviously coming from the left, and put some over here. Oh, and now we have the tree. Now this tree obviously is naked for winter, and I think we want to think about putting, you know, some darkness into that, because if we put real foliage on that, put some still dark in here. And we'll add a couple little tree trunks, and you always talk about leaving little holes for the birds to fly through, you know. But and then this trunk here is actually a fairly important element here, and that'll probably end up casting a shadow. And now, if I want to refine this a little bit more, I probably want to darken. You know, the dark should be darker here, and this darken up that a little bit too. And I was going to end up putting something in here because that's actually at the third point, and that could end up being kind of a secondary or even a primary focal point. And I was going to put some kind of a truck, and might even put a couple of figures in the landscape here, chopping wood or something like that. Okay, and then pick up some more darks in the rocks. And yeah, this should end up being a little darker. So the trunk of will actually fade into the background of the trees. Might add a couple little evergreens back in the back here. And pick up. So anyhow, so this at least helps to kind of say, okay, so I'm beginning to see, you know, what I'm going to try and do. How does that look? I might put a little bit of a tone on the roof there, just a relatively light value, and then maybe a little bit more. So there's an example of just, you know, a quick study, kind of getting ready to kind of get the painting going. Any questions about that? I mean, just
Your focus is?
well, you know, I mean, you kind of have, I mean, you've got the light area over here, which is part of the barn, or it's actually, I think, a house actually, barn-like house. And then I've lost it here, you know, and maybe I'll try and pick out a little bit of that, so that we're going to try and do something in there, in that third point too. Any other questions?
Do you use, I can't bring a black and white camera with you on location, but when you're working in the studio, do you work with the black and white as well as the color?
I do. I will show you on my phone. I will sometimes just, you know, kind of, I mean, squinting is the other thing you can do. I mean, so you can, you know, kind of squint, and you can really just, you know, kind of identify the darks. I mean, so this is really a pretty key part of the background is quite dark here. That's quite dark, but yeah, do that. I do on my phone. I do have a program that's called Grid, and it'll you know, so you take a picture and you can have your 9 square grid or 9 rectangle grid, which is really kind of helpful for me sometimes. I mean, it just is kind of a good basis and a good check. Okay, so I'll put that over there, and we'll get out my. So keep that in mind at this point. Okay, so here's the Thomas Waterford 11 by whatever drawing. I didn't put. Sometimes I'll put some tape around the ends. Sometimes I won't. You know, I mean, everybody takes off the tape and reveals their painting. I didn't do it this time. I thought about it, but I guess I didn't do it. And I'm going to find my Hake brush, and I think I'll clean up that Van Dyke brown. I may not be using that again, so just clean it up. So typically, I don't usually have this. This is just a baker's pan or whatever it's called. And I won't typically have that in plein air. And I do a good bit of work outside, and this would obviously be awkward to carry around. So a lot of times I'll do most of my mixing in these areas that are available for mixing. And so I said phthalo blue. I know that sounds like, what, phthalo blue? But for a summer sky, I'm going to it'll be not very, very thick, and I think I will kind of, kind of dull it down a little bit, a little of that workhorse burnt sienna, just to get, and we can just, now of course, like all other painters, you never prepare enough, and then you run out along the way, so so we got, but it's going to be fairly, I mean, the sky is not the story here at all, so we want to get that in. I typically would even think about doing a full overall wash, but I might want to think about, kind of preserving the light, so I might end up stopping it as we bring it down. So we're gonna see if I get enough to get my bead going. You know about the bead at the bottom of, look at that. I've already used up my so. I think I'll fade it a little bit as it goes down as well, just, but now I've got to, okay, now let's get a little bit more of that. So, and we'll just bring this down, probably weaken it a little bit more and start to lighten it up a little bit as it's coming down. I will be careful at the roof. Careful at the roof, fairly careful. And not to worry about the chimney really at this point. Bring it down. I might add a little more of the burnt sienna. A little. As sometimes I like the way that how the sky sometimes lightens up at the bottom. This is going to be dark over in there, so I'm not going to worry about that. And let's carry this on down over here. Bring that down. Careful on the side. And bring it down to that white line there, and I think I want to stop that there. And I think we'll stop that here at this point. I think I want to try and keep that little vertical. Maybe we'll keep that vertical just a little bit. And I think what I'll do is hit that. Thing about phthalo blue. It really is really a staining color. So if I want to try and get some of my raw sienna or the yellow ochre, because I think we want to try and, well, you know what I could do also? I mean, let's go ahead and just get that side of the space up there, and then we'll do some of this yellow ochre for the road. Basically, it'll be the basis for the grass that's going to be in front there. Come on through here. So basically what I've done at this point, well, how about that? I've painted my lights at this point. I've sort of thought about the idea of putting a truck there. Maybe these guys here in this, might leave them a little bit light. Now we're going to have dark behind that, so it's going to be okay. Not a great sky, but well, it's not the storage here, and so, and we could try and put clouds in here, but I'd ruin it at this point, so I'm not going to do that. And I think get a little bit, get this wall in here, and maybe kind of fiddle around with those rocks in the front there. see, one thing here that I do want to capture is make sure I get that. So the roof shape is fairly important at this point, and I think I'll leave that for now. So I'm going to set that aside, let it dry.
You want me to dry it for
No, because I'm gonna go to our other example here, and I just need to pick up. Okay, so here's a little simple street scene in Nancy, France. It's a Stanislas Square, and I was gonna just try and demonstrate while that's drying over there. See how it's going. Yeah. So here's my Pentel Finito pen. And one of the things about a pen and ink is not to be too precious about your pen. If you try and draw a really good long straight line, I mean, so I've got a long line here, right? I mean, but if I want to draw, it's kind of good not to keep it continuous. So I've got these these little things. But, oh, and by the way, this is sort of a real good example of a one-point perspective, right? So somewhere in here, all of these lines are converging. And I did want to get into the idea of figures and how, I think you've probably been told 100 times that all of the heads are at the same height, but this is a really good example. So we'll see if we can get that. But it's kind of nice not to be real precious about the drawing, because it's going to be supported by the watercolor that's going to come on top of this, and that kind of gets splashed on a little bit too. So I'm not exactly sure what these doodads are, and little flowers and things like that. And some of them are sculptures, but again, it's sort of almost the rougher they are, the better they are in something. You got this guy coming down here, which is over here. That does show the kind of the shape of some kind of a column. Bring this down over here. And that's, I'm going to correct on that. Let me get the perspective on that. I'm going to quickly kind of try and pick up these little arcade here. Through here. Okay, and we got these umbrellas that are kind of nice to have. They'll have to be dark under there. And these kind of come through. Some of these come through. We'll go get the little tower in the back here. And more of these little doodads on that building. They have an amazing light show that they do in the summertime in this little square. They project on these buildings, and it's unbelievable, worth a trip, really.
Okay, let's go.
Nancy, France. We were there for a conference, actually. I would probably never have gone there otherwise.
Nancy.
Nancy. Nancy.
Like Nancy.
Just like Nancy.
Nancy. Now I got it.
And it's a really kind of it's the seat, or it's where Nouveau art became sort of the center of the Nouveau art movement. And so there's a kind of some interesting museums there. It's quite good. So again, this is one of the good reasons for traveling and going abroad or going places, if we ever get to do that again.
Only you, as an architect, and Thomas Schaller would
Yes.
What's
pick that
Thomas
scene to
Schaller.
draw and paint.
Yeah, I had a workshop with Thomas Schaller.
Wow.
See, he's one of these variety of guys that are he does have architectural background, but he was really an architectural illustrator. And there's a lot of these guys that are architectural illustrators, and they were really, really, I mean, amazing people. Yeah, no, I like Thomas Scheller too. In fact, I think I'm taking a workshop online. Oh, here's a little sculpture. Let's, it's actually Mr. Stanislaus or something like that. It's gonna be.
He's actually doing one for us in November.
Is he?
Oh,
I think there's an online one coming up
Vlad's doing it.
this
Yeah.
month.
Go to his
That's great.
YouTube channel if you want to see his work in progress. He just gives everything away.
Oh, he's a very, very generous guy. I went out to California. I have kids in California. And we took a workshop with him out in California, and that was great. Here's a little lantern over here. Yeah, I think he's back in New York now, but I'm not sure. I'm not, he had a place in.
Thomas Scheller is.
Huh?
Thomas Scheller.
Thomas Scheller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in the city now.
Is he in New York?
And he has a place Upper East Side. I wish I could get there.
I don't know if he still has his place in Venice Beach. I mean, it was pretty cool. So look at this. I mean, we've got, you know, in how many seconds, not too long here, we've got the basics of this drawing kind of set. Now we got, you know, we got the people, and the people, we'll just start to put those guys in real quick here.
Gary, what point do you like on your pen?
It has 1 point. It's called an ultra fine, but it's really not. It's called extra fine, but
Extra
it's
fine.
yeah. It's pen tel finito. I mean, they don't have a variety. I love these. They don't. I mean, watch. I'll prove myself wrong, but they don't really bleed.
Are they juicy?
Juicy.
Like a felt tip.
Like a
Yeah,
juicy?
it's got a porous point, and it's actually, I mean, you can kind of vary your line a little bit, you know, so you can get a kind of real light line if you hold it light, and then you can get a dark line if you know, kind of.
Is it light fast?
Huh?
Is it light fast?
Light-
Is the pen light fast? Is
Light
it-
fast?
Yeah, if you put it in the
Permanent.
sunlight, see if the ink disappears after like 6 months or so.
Oh, I don't know.
So I did that with some pens and it did that, so I switched to something that says permanent ink on it.
I think I've got these for as long as I've been painting, and they're still light fast, so.
Okay, yeah, just, if you want to test it, just scribble on a piece of paper and put it in a windowsill where there's sunlight and see if it fades at all, and see if it doesn't.
Well, and again, it's only a little part of the aspect of what we're doing here. Let's make this a little here.
Except if you hold drawings, so you don't. Yeah. That's what I was doing, whole drawing.
So then we got all these people here, and this is a young woman here. Let's get these arches back in here. And I think we're and look at these lines here. These lines are just lines in the pavement, and these are like little steps. Let's get these come in here. Another. Oh, look at this. Tell you that phthalo blue. I mean, it is pretty nasty. I don't know if it'll get anywhere.
Contagious.
It's terrible. But and it is nice to group people. I mean, so a solo person is almost, you know, a little bit lonely at this point. But these guys coming through, and they do provide a nice, you know, kind of liveliness. And you can see again, heads are the same height, but these people are way far away, so they're in the background, way over there. And then there'd be even people way, you know, way in the back there, if you not see them. Let's see, I've just got a couple more lines here, and then we're going to get the watercolor.
How true to the photo do you stay?
Well, I think getting the drawing correct is I mean, that's to me the basis for everything we do. You know, so yeah. I mean, is it What do you mean by how
Do you
to-
ever look and say, I'm gonna take that building out?
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
gonna add
all the
something
time,
in?
yeah. In fact, I'm gonna add a guy here. This guy wasn't in the photograph here. But again, just to even show, his head is again gonna be the same height, because that's your vision plane, that's where your eye is, going across there. And we'll give him a backpack, you know, and he'll be kind of walking into the, through the gateway there. And there is a kind of a horizontal line here that comes across, and let's kind of pick that up. And I think that's pretty much it. Now, I think what I'll do, is erase any of those nasty pencil lines, you know, so that it kind of cleans that up. And then we're gonna just throw some watercolor.
Throw some watercolor.
Are you doing watercolor or ink, or
Watercolor.
what?
Watercolor.
Watercolor.
Oh, yeah, no, it's watercolor, yeah. Put my pencil away. I have to get back a little from it, see how it's gonna look. Okay, so we've got real light in the back here. And here is an example of, maybe I'll take my rosemary. I like that rosemary. And see, here's a good example. Well, I think maybe we better do the sky first, I think, here. So I will go more normal with my cobalt. But it's not. No, I mean, it's really not all. And I do want to kind of be able to pick out some. So, but and you can see this is the hot press and
Oh, yes.
and it. But I think it's one of the cool things about one of these kinds of things is that did I throw some of the same fallow in there at the same time? But and then I might sort of soften the edges of that just a little bit, just to. And let's see here. Like a little bit more of definition of that building over there. Okay. All right. And let's go pick up this. Now we'll use our yellow ochre. Yellow ochre and a little bit of. Let's put some little blue in there too. Just to darken it. It's not too many washes on this one, actually, you'll see. Well, I might even leave that piece unpainted. And let's maybe even darken up underneath these umbrellas here. Okay, and some of the sun is a little bit, needs to be a little lighter on this side. And then this kind of area in the building that's really in the sun, you know, I think that's a good opportunity for our twin yellow here, and gold. I'm sorry. Kind of nice over there. Rather like that. Now it's kind of bleeding because I'm going too fast, but that's okay. And then we've got to darken the foreground here. I'm going through my people right now. Try and get the perspective lines. And then I'm going to come back and pick up. Now, with a smaller brush, this is a rosemary, this is a 6. I'm gonna mix up a little bit of, well, mix some different colors, but try and get. And here's a good opportunity for some little variety of things in here. Wash the bottom of that. Whoa. Way too much color on that. Make some fun things here. And we should have some just good old dark. Sorry, I'm not talking here, I'm just kind of focusing on these guys.
There seems to be like a purple-ish sheen on the pavement. Are you gonna, yeah.
Oh, well,
Your
good.
teacher said.
No, I'm just asking how you're gonna handle it.
Well,
Who's
I
gonna
think,
handle it?
I was thinking, I actually thought about that, believe it or not. And I think what we could do, well, I think we could add a little bit of, because you can do a couple of different layers here on this. But I was gonna make it a little more of a wet scene. So
Having a wonderful time with their kids.
and I need to put some color in this.
Adults.
No, it's teenagers.
Am I losing my audience? And then we could put a little bit of, you know, reflections.
I'm sorry, I thought you meant the man outside.
Oh, but I got it.
I closed the doors.
Oh, I was gonna say, you told them to calm down? And they listened?
Good job.
Well, that's right, you were a teacher. I didn't even hear your teacher voice say.
No, I was nice. They were nice to me, so.
Yeah, I'm gonna get my, let's get some faces in here too.
The faces.
What do you use for faces? What color?
My Quinn Sienna,
Green sienna.
yeah.
could take you to do, would you do something like use the same technique out in like the field?
I tend to do these in the studio, actually.
Do you? Okay, so this would not be a technique you would do out?
No, I would, no, in fact, sometimes what happens, like this one here, I mean, that was a pencil sketch, but I think this one here, I think I did add ink. I will, sometimes, I don't know, I don't have a good example here, but yeah, I would do it.
Okay.
The answer is yes. Okay. Oh, you know, how could that guy's face, though, he's going the other way, so I'll put some hair on. Okay. And
He's not paying any attention.
That's his backpack, you know, so he's really.
Give him a ponytail.
Okay, we'll give him a ponytail. Now, that's sort of the first wash, and I think what I'm going to do is go back to this, and I'm not sure I'll get back to this one, but you know, I would pick out, you know, some of these other areas, you know, so that there's another layer that could go on top of this, that could. But I mean, in some respects, it's you know, you're just trying to capture something, and it's I do enjoy it, and I do. Well, lately I've been doing about half of the work I do in you know, using this technique, so I do like it.
Thank you.
It's fun, yeah. And well, even these lines like that, you know, shows the little bit of reflection. And I don't mind
okay, I'll take
this,
it.
these kind of unfinished edges. I mean, I think that's sort of part of the ethic there.
I don't know how to do it. What am I doing wrong?
That one's a little bit more finished.
I'll go here, right?
All right, well, we're gonna put that aside
Oh, it's here.
and go back to work.
Thank you.
Good?
How are we doing?
I'm having issues.
We are 5 and 3.
We are.
Okay. Now,
I'm happy to be here.
what are we gonna do? I think it's the background trees first, you know, that, and I'll stay with this. I think I'm gonna move over my, I usually don't get too worried about the water, but,
Do you want some clean water?
no, I don't, as I say, I mean, usually I use this guy in the field.
Yeah.
And that's all I ever use, you know, so, I mean, it's really, but I think, let's get back to our, now we are gonna change the mood here a little bit, from what we have, but, I think the background is the background, and so I think we ought to, I need to, you know, I might even put a little, it's gonna be a kind of a blue-green is what I'm thinking for the, but, and it should have variety too. I mean, so these are these kind of background trees. And again, being a little careful about the roof. And a little, you know, a little variety in there just to, so these guys can't tell. These conifers that are going to be in front actually will be in front of this anyhow, so I'm not going to put them in right now. And but trying to keep.
That's green, but you have turquoise still in there,
Yeah, it's basically I like the kind of a sort of a soft blue green in the back in this case. So. And again, there'll be another layer of trees that go in front of these, so I'm not too worried about what's going to happen here. Again, careful on the edge of the building though. And then this line here is really an important line here. I'm going to try and keep that line.
Yeah.
Okay, and then come back, well, there is a tree there,
Gary, the phthalo blue.
Yeah.
It's not as intense. Is that because you put the burnt sienna in with it?
I softened it a little bit. First of all, it's fairly dilute, you know, yeah, I mean, phthalo blue can be,
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, no,
really dry,
it's
beautiful.
dangerous, but it's, in a sense, it's sort of fun.
Take a risk.
And I don't mind mixing in some other colors in this, you know, even that little accidental purple in there. I think I will try and soften a little bit in there. Again, these are the stand of trees in the back, and there'll be a tree in front of that, so we're not going to worry too much about that. And I do want to get this over in here. So I have to be a little more careful over in this zone here, because I have put in a little vehicle of some sort. I'm not exactly sure. And we'll finish this little back wash here. Now, because of time, I'm gonna, I think I'll wait on the green grass. But I think I'll paint around these little figures so that they can pop out. You know, because in terms of lights and darks, I mean, think about getting that trunk in at this point. But even though that has a wash on it, when we make this even darker, which I think I might end up doing, those figures will pop out pretty good. And again, I want that line and a little bit more rough edge there. I don't want to have too strong an edge there. Okay. Looking okay. Now, I think while it's still wet, let's take a little bit. And get a little burnt sienna. So I'm making a little bit darker kind of green gray here, and I'm gonna highlight here. So now I'm talking about popping those guys out. And sort of let it just sort of fade up while it's still wet. And I'll pop out that vehicle. And this is probably already dried over here, so we'll wetten that up a little bit. And come back with this stuff here. I have another tree that's coming this way, so I'll get that going. Okay, now you always got when you make a mistake, you just clean it up. I say clean it up, except if it's stale, then you can't clean it up. But we're going to put some shadow on there anyhow, so that's not going to be a problem. Okay. And I'm going to soften the edge of that a little bit. Soften the edge of that. But it really begins to help to define the end, that background area in a kind of a decent way, and we can throw in a couple of. This is too wet for that. This is not too bad for that. We want to get some of those background kind of trees. Okay. All right. Shall we? Let's work on the house. Clean it up a little bit. I'm going to keep some of this around. I've put a little bit more of an eave than really is in the painting, but I think that's okay. And I like to have mix on the paper a little bit of the kind of the character of this. Now that's gonna pick that back up. Oh, now I'm probably too close to that wet, and I'm gonna have a problem there. I was thinking. We'll see, maybe I'll get lucky.
When you do an architectural rendering and stuff for a client, do you paint it yourself too, or somebody else?
I've done a few, I mean, nowadays, you know, everything is, you know, we've got these amazing, you know, digital software that is just unbelievable. And, no, yeah, yeah, I've done some renderings, but not much. Want to kind of, I don't like rectangular, you know, I mean, I think I want to kind of break the kind of the rectangle of that window a little bit. They get a little too. I lost some of my burnt sienna here. And this just. I think I'll be careful about that. And it's, you know, it's weathered, and it's got, you know, and so we can pick up just some of the stuff that's in the palette there.
You do house portrait commissions?
Not really. I have done one or two, but no, that's not my. Not what I'm here for. You know. I want to get a little. While it's still wet here, I'm gonna get a little bit more messiness in here. And these windows are gonna mess up these windows. Actually, I don't mind that right there, because I'm gonna actually get that edge there. We'll get this one over here too. All right. Now, the other aspect of this, I think we can get the roof now going a little bit. And
What color are you using, Gary?
well, I actually used my alizarin crimson and a little bit of my my quinacridine sienna, and we'll just see how that goes. It's
Okay.
not too bad, and it's going to be pretty light here at this point.
Did you ever try dragon's blood color?
I've tried different. I have you know. A variety of other paints, but no, I don't. I kind of tend to. I'm pretty sticking to the ones I got now. You know, you stick with the ones that brought you there. But yeah, it's not too bad for the roof there. And we might as well take it on down and you know, let's get this. Because this is in it's going to be wider up here, so we can bring that on down. Now there's going to be a dark line under there that will eventually help define the end of that. You can see that dark line under there with the shadow. But right now we don't need to kind of get that. And then there's this kind of shadow stuff over here. And I think we could go after that. Now the chimney here. I'm gonna put another coat on that dark side of that, but right now the chimney's a little bit brick chimney. Soften the bottom of that. Plenty of time. Let's do something with these rocks. Get a little more of my ultramarine blue and the burnt sienna are kind of the workhorse kind of gray that I use, and kind of work through that. Have a little kind of dappled effect here with some darks and lights as part of that, this kind of wall here. Coming across, and then some of these rocks. There's a lot of light and darks in the rocks. Sometimes I don't really have like a credit card. Well, I guess I do, but it's in my pocket. But you know, to kind of scrape away some of the. That's a little unfortunate there. I've never used the palette knife for that before, but it seems to work okay. And again, getting variety in this is kind of important for these. Again, so we'll come back to these rocks if I have time. But that's sort of a first go at the rocks. I've been putting off the dealing with the grass for a long time here, and I'm going to have to continue to because I just spent the time on it. But let's go do this road. Kind of a nice lead into the scene here. And I think this would be a good example later on to put a little splatter on it, just with the sort of a little gravel. But for right now, I think that we're just going to get that. So in there. And where do I go from here? Just kind of think what's going to be. Well, I think we can get these. I think I might go to a flat brush actually for these conifers. A little bit more blue. And we'll go to my parallel ingredients. And see if we can get some of these guys coming through here. I like them as a and we'll eventually have a center base to those.
Nice touch.
Mhm.
Side brush or rough paper.
again, get careful to the building over there. Maybe this guy was one of those guys, then. Better than what it was going to be. Because that can help define this chimney too. If I like that much, but that's not so bad. Okay. Bring this on, then bring this one on down. Now this will be in front of the building over there, so. And we really ought to get some because we're going to get this guy to come down. That's actually going to throw a shadow on the rock wall there, which will be kind of a little too much, a little too dark. Okay. Well, I think we're going to get ready to do some of these. A little bit bigger. Something with the windows. Now, again, the windows, I guess they have a little bit of tracery in them. I'm kind of ignore that to a degree. I guess I'll do this one a little bit. I'll end up kind of softening that and making these not so very specific as to what they're doing here. And come around the other side and look at these guys. They're really dark. Right, let me get this guy in here. I want to do more with that roof in a little bit, but I'll soften it up. Okay. This could be a little bit more.
Gary, what are the hardest things when you're changing a season on a painting? What do you have to consider in your head?
Well, obviously the foliage is going to be the biggest thing here. Light is you know, how the light actually, I mean, because I'm going to try and get some, oh boy, I'm going to try and get some
You're good.
shadows
Yeah.
on the building itself. Yeah,
Do you switch up colors or anything?
Yeah.
Or?
well, that's why I'm, as I say, I've been kind of avoiding the grass. I've got to get to the grass and get some green in here. Should be soon. We're at pretty much what I always call the ugly stage of a painting. And it's time to begin to kind of, get a little bit, serious about what I'm gonna do here now. Let me try, I think I can do some grass now. Let's go ahead and I'll start with my Aurelian, which is essentially it's a cool yellow. And now we're gonna.
What blue is that?
That
That's
was
your
cobalt.
phthalo? Oh,
That
it's
was cobalt, and it's not working very well. So I may sneak a little bit of my Paroline in here, and then get more. They should be. Let's just see here. Just want to see what kind of. Yeah, it's not very good. I might try this heel over here. It's not going to be too bad.
So why did you change the season from winter? So
Um,
season, it's like summertime?
Just for jollies.
This next thing doesn't look too bad too, and I mean, the photo looks nice with the snow.
No, I like the snow. The snow seemed to be good, but it's spring, and
Okay.
I don't want to be.
I'm making it hard on himself. It's easier to look at the snow.
No, I think it'll be nice to be springtime,
Okay.
More than a day at a time. Once, and then freezing.
I think that's actually going to be okay. I think green isn't too bad. Now there'll be more detail on the green as this goes. We better get to that tree though, I think. And boy, we got a lot more to do on the house. And Margie said that we have to be out of the room by 4, and I got to
Yeah,
finish by
that means you
20
might have
of.
to stay.
Huh?
You just might have to stay.
Might have to stay. We have to get back to Rhode Island and see the finale of White Lotus,
Yeah, Doris, next.
It's 90 minutes tonight.
Yeah, I heard. Okay, so let's begin to get this tree in here, and we'll start from the top.
Now, it looks like you modified the green. What did you do differently?
Oh, there's I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little bit of dark puddle over here that's a little
Okay.
darker.
That's a technical term, dark puddle.
Dark puddle. Yeah. Well, I do want to have
Variety.
a variety of and we'll start. They'll be even darker as we bring this tree down. Now we have to just kind of imagine what this tree's going to look like because it's not there. No, I do want to leave it be a little bit kind of messy. It's a big tree. I mean, it's got. So I'm trying to work it. So it's sort of got this shape that I'm going to try and capture if I can. And I would like at the same time, I'm going to get my rigger out here, just to kind of begin to get some of these.
Gary, you always paint sitting down, or do you ever stand up?
I stand up and plein air.
Okay.
I sit down too in plein air.
All my pictures, Gary's.
Could be needs a little bit of the tree going up here. And you know, when you do your trees, I mean, the branches are not, you know, so a jerky move is always kind of what's, what am I doing here? Is what you could begin to expect.
Next question.
Yes,
Yes.
bless you.
Thank you.
I thought it was a question. That's probably not a. I think we need to get darker with some of these. It's interesting that burnt sienna and ultramarine actually looks green even though it's not. Darks up in there.
What kind of color do you usually use for the trunks?
Well, it'll be probably this ultramarine blue and the burnt sienna. I'll
Right.
get that going here.
Gary, can you talk about shadows and the kind of colors you use for them?
Typically, I will use sort of a variant of what's being shadowed. You know, so in the grass it would be a dark green. Here it'll be more of a dark gray in the side. This is nowhere near dark enough, by the way. But let me finish with this tree. Yeah, but usually, I mean, so there's no real right answer to that. I mean, in terms of what the right color might be. And some branches, tree, you know, I mean, they actually, you know, come down and. Let me get some of these. But clearly, at the bottom of this tree here, we'll get to this dark green here, and with the sun coming from over here, I mean that's going to give us. And right now, there's probably not enough variety in that tree, but I'm going to just move on from that for a little bit here. And I really want to get this.
What brush do you like to use for this linear work at the end?
It depends on where I, you know, what level. You know,
Yeah.
for some real mild things, I'll use my rigger. But
Is that a rosemary?
huh?
The rigger's a rosemary?
No, the rigger. My rigger is.
Oh.
I mean, this still is a rosemary. No, so I really want to darken this. Now we're going to get some of this darker. let's get that shadow in at least, that'll really begin to pop this out.
Aesthetic.
And I'll do more on the,
Were you just missing that?
oh, it was, yeah, no, this was coming. But I don't want to get it too flat on that. Run it.
Ta-da.
No, yeah, the roof is gonna,
Oh, I feel better now.
all right, well, let's
Give a couple of perfectionists over here.
let's go crazy, let's go crazy with the roof. Yeah, this is our, you know, our deepening and darkening kind of phase here.
Deepening and darkening shade.
And I really, really need to, this is the guy that really needs to be darker. But all that work that you do kind of beforehand actually kind of helps that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what I'm doing with this little car vehicle here. Give it a couple little red lights there. Oh, and of course, cars or trucks have real dark wheels underneath. Don't like that, I'm gonna take it out.
Why did you just mop it?
I didn't like the color.
Oh, okay.
It's that phthalo blue, I'm telling you, it was a, you know,
Come to haunt you.
a huge mistake. Let's darken this side of the chimney. Okay, let's get back to the rocks here.
This fell apart.
I did want to darken this, I didn't want to darken it.
Oh, my goodness.
And the janitor found
Your pieces? She's such a beautiful necklace.
All right, let's put some, get rid of this phthalo blue here. It's not bad for the sky, I mean, it wasn't bad.
The sky looks wonderful. It dried a completely different way than I thought it would.
Yeah, no, it's actually not a bad, you know, thing, so, but I'm mixing this up for one reason. Oh, yes, I want to put some, I want to put some shadows on the, over here. And we need to get the, keep getting the wrong, I'm just attracted to that phthalo blue.
Yeah. magnet.
If we do a little bit of softening on these rocks.
Gary, probably down to 5-10 minutes.
Yep.
No pressure.
No pressure. And he did 2 paintings.
No
Let's not
pressure.
forget.
Yeah, I forgot about that oil.
Yeah.
And a little shadows underneath these. Oh, my figures. Oh, I'm not going to show what numbers it was. All right, let's get this front shadow.
So this is from a tree we're not seeing.
Yes. So this is
This one back over here in the
AI?
woods here.
see what's sort of fun. Let me get that going. Drop some of that stuff on and let it Oh, there's much to do, but what happened there?
Sallow blue.
No, that wasn't fallow. That didn't happen to be fallow blue. This came out okay in the back there. Oh, we do need to. This will be the last few things. Let's, everything else I do is just gonna be, you know, kind of messing around here. These are two blue, the rocks aren't too bad. This area here is kind of nice, I kind of like that. Little zone probably may work for the focal point. I think I could fix these a little bit. As I say, I think they should be greener. But I think my time is up. Let me,
I think you've done an incredible job.
I'll sign it anyhow, you know.
Absolutely. And if you want to take a Graham home with you,
Him with,
Don't tell
him
us
or the
why.
penguin
Oh.
or Susie.
My wife's in the back.
Just go up and take a real
Yeah,
photo
there's
of it.
some really nice
I don't know
paintings.
how.
Take a photo?
Everybody loves.
That's not very